Hello and welcome everybody to the latest edition of the Buy Round. Unfortunately, due to Cheese's injury, he is out of action. So no Brandon Smith, unfortunately, but I am joined by my co-host Charlie White.
James Graham, great to be here. Shattered for Cheese.
Yes.
We were watching the game yesterday and, it's very disappointing. Obviously, it looks like he's done his MCL. So grade 1, he thinks at this stage, but the scan results haven't come back yet.
About 8-9 weeks of the season left? He should be back for the back end.
Yeah, but then at the same time, will they risk him? What would they just put him on ice? It's normally a 4 to 6 week injury in MCL if it's a grade 1 tear.
Yeah, and obviously South Sydney, it doesn't appear like they will be playing finals. That last game of the season, no. They take on the Roosters, don't they?
Allianz Stadium Friday night. First weekend of September.
And it could be a very important game for the Roosters, that they're going to be in the mixer for the top 8.
Yeah.
And it could come down to that 2 points or not. That's genuinely, it could be.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure Cheese would love to play in that game as well.
It was interesting hearing him talk before the game and how emotional he got about playing in those colours and what impact the South Sydney Football Club has had on him in such a short period of time.
Well, we've got the Waiheke Rams jersey in here somewhere. It's not hanging up at the moment, but he spoke about the colours and what they meant to him. He gets very emotional. And I think do you know what? Like, we know Cheese really well. And I reckon at the Roosters, he probably never felt loved. And you can you can tell he's the kind of guy, like any human being, you just want to feel loved. You
Absolutely.
want to feel appreciated.
100%. It's something I experienced during my footballing career where one club, I'd give them a lot and I was being shown the door. But then when another club shows you love, and especially the people, and they go out of their way and they put time into you, you're like, how good does this feel? That's for any organisation, sporting or otherwise, it's a great way to approach, show people that you care, and you get the best out of them. And obviously, it was the return of Cheese. It didn't quite inspire a result, and obviously he's going through that difficult injury patch or injury sustained again. But I think with that talk shows that Cheese is going to get players best football for South Sydney and under Wayne Bennett.
100%. He's a great man, Cheese, as well. And the Roosters, they did try and sort of besmirch his name a little bit towards the exit there, and it didn't end well. So to see him playing and see the emotion as well, because also they spoke in that clip about mateship.
Yeah.
And you've played with Wayne Bennett, that's something that he's really big on, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. He'll often use that phrase of mateship, and he understands about why people do what they do. And Cheese spoke about being in the trenches. And look, there's a lot of parallels drawn between war and sport. I don't necessarily agree with that, but it's a metaphor to talk about doing the hard stuff in the trenches for your footballing side. And to hear Cheese use those words, I know exactly what it means.
Yeah, because he came from the Storm system as well, where you saw that, that's kind of how he obviously made a name for himself by being that larrikin, taking the piss. There's that video of him, humping Craig Bellamy when he's down on the ground wrestling with him. He's a larrikin, and he loves loves that mateship, loves that footy environment, and it's such a shame he's injured, but he'll be back strong.
Yeah, he will be, and I think Wayne. Certainly, my experience with him is he knows when to turn it on and turn it off, dial it up, dial it down, and that is a style that I think suits a personality like Brandon Smith. You don't need to be 100% on all the time. Some people do like that, and there's no wavering rules. There's no different rules for different people. It's just, this is what we do 100% of the time we are on. And I think Cheese is the type that can go, right, I'm all in for a short time, but then I want to switch off.
Yeah.
And I think, yeah, like I say, South will bring the best out of him. But Sad news for him with that injury. He'll be back on Wednesday night / Thursday morning when we're doing our Origin 3 review. We had a great episode with Gordon Tallis. That's out already. We're previewing it. That was done before the tragic passing of Cameron Munster's father. But yeah, looking forward to getting into the Origin review with Cheese straight away. Pretty much we'll get it recorded, get it out ASAP. We've also got the lunch over in Penrith.
Penrith, yeah.
Yes,
hopefully not Perth. That's a long flight.
Yeah, that is a longer flight with Brian Fletcher and Mark Geyer. That's at the Warragamba Wombats.
Warragamba, great part. It's at Penrith Paceway.
Yeah.
You can get tickets. It's very affordable. It's $170 a head, I think, with that's drinks and food and all that included. Yeah. For a great cause, support the Wombats, great footy club. You'll be there, mate. You'll be your best as always.
I'll be bringing my best self. Don't worry about that. And those two characters in particular are a lot of fun. A lot
beers
of fun.
Would be great. Well, speaking of beers as well, there's a beer that I want added to like the top 5 beers. You know, like airport beers.
Yeah.
All that jazz. Had it after we finished work at Triple M. We were at the game. We were at the Roosters Tigers game. Went downstairs to the members bar and had a beer in a glass at the footy. Honestly, it's the peak of luxury is having a glass of beer at the footy. No plastic cups, genuine glass. It's like the height of luxury in my eyes.
So the fact that it's at the football, it's not a beer in a glass at a pub. It has to be at sporting events.
Because it feels like you're a member of high society.
Yeah, I didn't get that same feeling, but I appreciate what you're saying. I don't like plastic glasses.
No, it's not the same.
No.
You need a glass. Yeah, it's like Coca-Cola's better in a glass bottle.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Other than that, Charlie, how was the weekend?
Mate, it was great. The weekend was good. I've had a bit of a mare coming here. I had a sandwich. I've got stains all down my pants because I was having a wrap in the car on the way over and it exploded on me. So a bit worse for wear on a Monday. I also probably had a few beers at the footy after, so I got a bit carried away on a Sunday. But no, apart from that, mate, all good. We have been getting this since the Raiders won on Saturday. We've got a shitload of messages reminding us that you tipped the Raiders for the spoon. I tipped the Raiders as well for the spoon. But that is our message of the week. It was from Matthew Brennan and said Canberra for the spoon, ?
Yeah, well, great message and great point. Look, I was wrong. I'm happy to admit that I was wrong. That tip was way off the mark. The reason I chose, it's something I don't particularly enjoy doing anyway. Ladder predictor, all that sort of stuff. Predict your top 8, top 4. And obviously comes with by default, there is somebody you have to pick to finish.
We couldn't have been more wrong though. They couldn't have been more box position for the minor premiership.
Couldn't have been more wrong. But let's go through the process of why. Well, they were finished 9th last year. I think the same number of wins as Newcastle Knights. No signings of note, and Rapana and Whitehead leave.
Yep.
Some very exciting young players, especially in the halves. Ethan Strange definitely wasn't anticipating him to play as well for as long as he has now for season 2025. Probably wasn't expecting Tarpany and Papali'i to dominate as much as they have. And that's why, by default, they finished in the bottom of my ladder predictor.
Whichever way you explain it, we were wrong.
Yeah,
Whether
absolutely.
you get your reads being wrong, we were wrong. And we're aware at Sydney Milk Syndicate, which is like an Instagram page for the Canberra fans that live in Sydney, have done like a clip where they like stitched us talking about it and all these other experts, that tipped Canberra for the spoon. It's a long list. It's a long list.
I mean, it is what it is. We get things wrong. I just wonder how, for that particular podcast group at Canberra, I hope when they review their forecasts for this season that they had the Raiders at the top and they put their money where their mouth is, because they would have been paying big money on Ladbrokes to take out the minor premiership. So, if they're gloating now. I hope it's more than just a gloat, and they're actually going to be financially compensated due to the fact that they saw this coming and we all didn't.
It's like my mate likened it to Leicester. My mate Jordan, he's like, it's basically like Leicester doing what they did. Canberra coming to the top. They were the Dragons were the favourites for the spoon, I think, at the start of the year. I think Raiders were second favourites.
Leicester won it. Canberra haven't won it yet.
But they're in the box seat though, aren't they? In all honesty,
to win the grand final,
to make it to the grand final,
they'd be one of the. They'd be
because their path, in all likelihood, will be Warriors week 1 if Warriors can hang on to that top 4 spot. Which, looking at their run home, it's pretty soft. So the Warriors in all likelihood should hang on to that top 4 spot. Tanner Boyd's going to come back in at halfback as well. So obviously Luke Metcalf's a big loss, but Tanner Boyd's a good player. Like, he's played a lot of first grade games. Then after that, it's going to be likely the Dogs or the Storm who've done it the hard way. That's their path. At home in Canberra as well.
Yeah.
So they'll have wounded Dogs or a wounded Storm against at home. Like, they're in the box seat.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you, Charlie. But there's a lot of water to run under the bridge. They've not had many injuries, which, I mean, you'd hope that would be sustained. But, mate, what Leicester did...
It's not my opinion. My mate liked it. I don't mind it.
I think you can like it, mate.
Mate, they were like 251 to 1 to win the comp at the start of the year, probably something like that.
What Leicester did was, in my opinion, the greatest sporting achievement of all time, bar none.
Yeah.
And I think if the Raiders won the NRL this year, it would be beyond surprising. But I don't know if it's quite Leicester territory.
I don't think it is, because it's not a salary cap sport, soccer, as well. So the gap between those teams near the bottom and the teams at the top is astronomical. Whereas in the NRL, everyone's playing on a so-called fair playing field, even though third parties make it not fair. But anyway, that's a chat for another day.
It is. I'm a little bit wounded myself from my weekend as well.
Just to take us inside of the psychopath that is James Graham, the absolute mental person. You've done Hyrox and then you went to the gym after doing Hyrox.
Yeah, to do some weights.
That's insane.
Well, but I just had some time. Well, actually, I didn't really have that much time. I had to go to Triple M and do
drive,
and then I had to go and do. Well, I went to the Dogs Broncos game as well after.
Do you not like being alone with your thoughts?
Yeah. What am I running from? Why don't I just
relax,
sit and just chill? I don't know, just get a bit bored.
But Hyrox is like considered like one of the hardest things to do in terms of an athletic pursuit.
It's hard. I've pulled up a lot sorer than I was anticipating, my hip and groin. That is what fails me ultimately. If my hip and groin stood up, my lungs weren't actually that bad.
Yeah,
it's my hip and groin that just we're not letting you go as fast as you would like to, James. Unfortunately, they restrained me. I still did okay, like an hour 19:33. It's pretty.
Is that good?
It's all right.
What's like a rapid time?
Oh, people are doing it in under an hour.
Oh wow, okay, wow.
But they're like pros. I trained a bit for it, but not like going out of my way. Training just purely for Hyrox.
Yeah, there's some nutters.
I'm too heavy for it as well. Like really, right.
So you need to be what? Suits more like a leaner, like endurance style athlete. Yeah. There's some psychos at Hyrox. I saw some video on Instagram where it was a couple doing it, and his wife or girlfriend fainted during the course, and you'd think, oh, your partner's fainted, go and make sure they're all right. He didn't. He finished the course. So he left his partner there who fainted, was having medical attention, and he said...
And they did a double. I thought doubles you have to do it.
Well, he asked, he's like, does she need to be there on the finish line for my time to count? And the people said no. And this guy filmed it and then gave his reaction to it. The guy that filmed it was so annoyed watching it happen that he left the Hyrox event and couldn't watch any more of it. Seeing this bloke just abandon his girlfriend or wife like that.
Wow. Yeah, that's a bit full on. I mean, people do take it pretty seriously. It was strange. I was a bit nervous going to it, and I had to give myself a bit of a slap in the face reality check. I was like, mate, you're just doing this event that you've paid for.
Yeah. Like,
what's the worst that can happen? You used to come to this part of Sydney, play a game that was violent and potentially dangerous. What is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But I think the reason like why I go to the gym, I think I need stimulating. I need stimulation.
Yeah.
Like I'm not good at just sitting around.
Do you reckon that's a little bit of like ADHD, maybe undiagnosed ADD, if you need constant stimulating?
I also need to know what's happening. Yeah. Like I need a plan for the day. Probably one of the worst things I could ever have is like a free time with nothing to do.
So you don't wake up with your family on a Saturday morning, go, there's nothing on today. We'll just hang out, we'll relax. Maybe do we go to the beach? Maybe let's not. Let's just go with the flow of the day. Let's just sit on the couch, have a scroll on our phone, read a book.
No, scroll on your phone? No way.
You don't have a doom scroll on your phone?
Nah.
Ever?
I would not. No.
Far out.
No.
Yeah.
Don't really watch that much TV.
Life can be enjoyed and you can relax in life as well. You can have like idle time.
And you know what? I'll actually sit there and enjoy just like sipping a coffee and enjoy that moment. But I do like to know like what I'm doing next. If I was just sipping on a coffee and there's nothing happening, I'd be going, oh God.
Were you like that pre-footy or did footy sort of turn you into that person?
No, I think I needed constant stimulation.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Like I needed something to put my attention to.
Yeah.
Charlie, we are back again with our hosted pot. We've done incredibly well. Magic Round, Origin 1, Origin 2, and there is another opportunity to get involved for State of Origin 3.
You've gotten us a profit every single time, Jimmy. You are quite good at this punting thing. I will give you that. And yeah, we're back for game 3. Same system as always, $25 buy-in. You go in, pop the code buy around in mates mode, and you can find us some winners again, Jimmy.
I sure can. It's only available on the Ladbrokes app, so please follow those directions. It's going to be a lot of fun again. I also like listening and seeing and reading about all the suggestions in the group chat. Obviously, there's some biases. I am Switzerland and completely independent, but I do enjoy those tips. A first try scorer when Brian Toto scored last time, that was ecstatic. I had a couple of multis riding on a last minute New South Wales try, but it wasn't to be.
Who actually gave you the Brian Toto first try scorer tip?
Can't remember their name.
See, I didn't get, again, don't get any credit for it. I think I was the one that came up with that. But anyway, doesn't matter. Get in. Basically, the pot's available until 7:45 p.m. July 9. That's Origin night, obviously. And yeah, get punting.
You win some, you lose more. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.
When we did this podcast not long ago, a couple of months ago, spoke about needing a upholsterer to do the upholstery for a chair that was made. So I gave about 12 jerseys to Ryan at Metroson Upholstery, and he delivered the chair.
I've seen pictures of it. It looks class.
So happy with it, honestly. So a heap of old playing jerseys, gathering dust in a bag in the garage. The annual spring clean comes along. You open them up. You don't get any cleaning done. You just sort of look and go down memory lane. This jersey, but I've had it turned into a chair. I'll put some of the photos on the show and on Instagram to show our listeners. And if anybody's, I'm actually going to do another one with. I've got a heap of, I guess, memorable clothes from like under 8s to under 18s of teams that I've played in. So I'm going to get another one done. If anyone wants to do this, I think it's a great way to commemorate a sporting career, whether professional, non-professional, because these jerseys mean a lot to us, but they just gather dust. And yeah, I get to see this every day and notice different things and smile. So big shout out to Ryan.
Where do you put it? Is it in the study? Is it your study chair?
It's an ornamental chair as opposed to a functional chair.
Is it in your first, second, or third living room?
Charlie, come on, mate.
You've got a few living rooms, I don't. Yeah, you do. You do. I remember we actually went there. We did a podcast there once. Swimming pool at the back.
Yeah, but I don't have more than one living room. I have one living room.
No. I know you don't.
No.
I know you
I'll
don't.
I'll put it in the office.
In all honesty, you know you like it because you didn't. You actually paid for it, and you've given him that plug.
Yeah,
I'll mention it on the show. We'll get it for do it for free.
No.
You paid for it.
Yeah. So, but honestly, if I I can't recommend this guy enough, and I can't recommend having a commemorative piece with your playing jerseys, like I say, professional, amateur, anywhere in between. It's so good. I was genuinely when he bought it, him and his wife came, and I was like choking up. I was like genuinely moved when I saw it. It was awesome. So big shout out to Ryan at Metropolitan Upholstery. It's a hard word for me to say.
Yeah, it is. It is. Origin 2 days away. When you're listening to this, it will be a day away. There's some talk that may or may not be 100% ready to get through a session today, which we don't know the results of yet. You've done a huge deep dive with Gordy on Origin, so we don't need to go too deep here, but go have a listen to that if you want to get a good Origin preview. But the sad news that you didn't get to cover there was obviously the passing of Cameron Munster's father, Stephen. Very, very sad news. He obviously left camp, but he is still going to play. But just your thoughts go out to him and his family.
Just before we touch on that, just on the Toto situation, if Karaz comes in, like I have full confidence and faith in him to do a magnificent job. He'll handle that occasion, and he will deserve his spot. He's been amazing for a couple of seasons now. The Munster situation, our thoughts and condolences to the entire Munster family. It just shows that there are things that are more important than football. This puts things into perspective. But I'm just imagining being Cameron Munster. You can only imagine what he's going through. And obviously he said he's going to play. And just, he was immense in game 2, the best player on the park by some margin. What this can do to his performance. But also, if you're one of his teammates, you could make a very strong case and argument that Cam Munster shouldn't be there and he shouldn't be playing. He should be with his loved ones, his family, those closest to him and those that are most affected by the tragic passing of his father. But if you're one of his teammates, you're looking around, you're going, he shouldn't be here, but he is. What am I going to do about that? Like, where's that taking my game? If I'm one of Cameron Munster's teammates and on Wednesday evening at a core stadium, I'm looking across at a man that shouldn't be there, but he is. I'm not letting him down. I'm going above and beyond. And, there's lots of aspects that affect individual and team performances, and you can pull on emotional levers. But Queensland players cannot let Cameron Munster down. He's making the decision to play. You have got to show up for that man. And I think, look, like it's bigger than football what's happened, but I think it brings Queensland closer to the contest.
Yeah,
due to that emotional response and that feeling of, if Cam is here, I owe him.
That shot of Billy when Billy came and did his statement, all the players are standing behind Billy. Like, so they would have wanted to do that. They would have said that we want to stand behind Billy when he makes that statement.
Shows they're united.
Yeah.
Shows they're united. And I can't stress that point enough of, you look in dressing rooms and you look at people and you're looking around and you see him. No one dare let him down.
Yeah. On game 3, you say it brings them closer. Have you still got New South Wales winning though?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I think from the 160 minutes of Origin football so far, I'd say New South Wales have been the better for 120. I thought they were pretty close to... looking back in reflection on game 2, I still think they were in a situation to win it at the back end. I think they would have taken that situation to win. Obviously there's flow-on effects from the game, but if you'd have given them, they need to one score with 7 minutes to go, I think they would have taken that. And they really take away everything that happened prior to that. They probably should have. That was some moments that they'd really like back to get that game won and have the biggest ever comeback. But that's not to be. They're going to move on. They're obviously at home. They know Queensland are going to be emotional. But I think there's probably just a little bit too much class in the New South Wales team. I think Latrell Mitchell is due a supernova moment. He's had some really classy touches and involvements. But I think a freakish try that we look and go, wow, only Latrell Mitchell can do that. I think, Shibasaki coming into the side, it's a feel-good factor for him, the journey that he's been on, and congratulations to him. But I think when the moments matter, you've got against Stephen Crichton, that's going to be a tough ask. And, you don't defend Stephen Crichton by yourself. You do it together, but there are going to be moments where Shibasaki needs to handle him. And I just think Stephen will have it over him.
He's not a bad defender, though.
No, he's not, mate. He's not.
It's funny how quickly the tides turn, though, and the pressure turns. Because game 2, it was all about Billy. It was all about Billy Slater. Obviously, he had that thing with Woodsy, and it blew up. And it felt like the talk was, Billy might walk away from Origin. He's, when he came out and did that, mental health rant that he went on. But now it feels like it's flipped. And it's like there was almost no pressure on Queensland. It's like they're in this position. New South Wales have to win. And then Laurie Daly's never won a decider. So he's been in 3 deciders as a coach and never won one. Yes, it was against one of the greatest Origin teams of all time. There's talk about Nathan Cleary never having won a decider in Sydney. It's all about New South Wales. They should win this game. So if they don't, they're the ones that are under the most pressure.
That's it. They should win this because I guess on paper you would examine both teams and say that's got greater star power, that's got greater potential to play. Like I say, they've been the best team for 120 minutes. But if they don't get the job done, I think there's pressure on both teams to perform. There's going to be ramifications for winning or losing.
But it's disastrous if New South Wales don't win.
Depends on how they play.
It's disastrous if they don't win this series. Having been up 1-0.
Sorry, you know what? Given everything, no matter what happens, if they don't win it, it will be the examination will begin, and obviously the pressure will mount. I don't think Daly's job is up for debate, but no doubt that pressure will dial up. It was funny. I was speaking with Wade Graham about this, and even both Slater and Daly, the Origin coach, because it's a job that can't be done by one of the NRL head coaches for the 17 teams. Yep. It's such a lonely place, win or lose. It's strange. I don't know of many other examples in sport where such a lonely place exists for the coach of the state of New South Wales and Queensland, because Wednesday evening. So let's when you think of all the pressure, all the build-up, all the hype, what's at stake in an Origin series arguably isn't. You can't go higher in Australian sport, right? And the two figureheads are the coaches, and they're the ones that are going to feel the most amount of pressure. Wednesday, that game is going to happen. After it, you're going to commiserate with your colleagues or you're going to celebrate. But they will only likely last a couple of hours. Maybe if some of those players aren't playing that weekend, that will go on a little bit longer, or that if you happen to be on the losing side, it'll be somber for an hour or two. Wake up on Thursday morning. Let's go Laurie Daly. Win, lose, or he'll wake up on Thursday morning. He'll have his goodbyes, and all the players, they immediately, win, lose, or draw, will switch on to what my job is next. Yes, there'll be talk of Origin, but you go and you've got another cause to go all in on. And same with all his coaching staff, Bellamy, Frank Panisi, I think Brent White's
Matt
in
King,
there.
Matt King,
they all go.
Dean Young's in there.
They all go, and they're onto their
back to their clubland as well.
What's their norm, and they're back into their clubland. They've got that cause of what's next, where Lloyd Daly doesn't. Like, he's all by himself, win or lose.
Yeah.
Same with Coach Slater.
He's back into radio.
Well,
he'll be back Monday doing Sky Sports breakfast radio.
Yeah, and same with Slater. He'll go back into Channel 9 and doing what he does and being a fan. But because of the level of interest and just like I say, the high stakes of State of Origin, to then just to be left as the figureheads all by yourself, to not go back into a sporting context or a sporting contest for another
10 months.
10 months.
Yeah.
Be so lonely.
Yeah.
Like, so lonely dealing with that wave of emotion and pressure all by yourself post-game.
It must be a huge emotional dump as well you'd have.
Yeah.
Like, huge. You've been so up. Like, even, I think I spoke about on this show maybe, I saw Laurie Daly down in the back area in Perth. We went down to get in our car to get out of the stadium, and he looked so emotionally drained after that game too. Like, the highs or the lows that you'll have, and the how up you've had to be for something over that highly intense period of, it'd be a phone interview with media, it'd be like every single minute of those days for those 6 weeks is basically probably chaos, I imagine, for them. It's like training, media, sponsor stuff. We've got these kids coming to visit, we'll show them around. Like, there'd be so many different tasks that have to do. Like, it just must be such a huge emotional drop.
Yeah, and then, like I say, the aftermath, you're all by yourself.
Yeah.
There's no one to lean on, really. Not in a physical, presence is important. He could call Bellamy and Panisi and his staff, but it's not the same.
No.
You're not living through that each and every day, or for a week or so after. So, like, even in Clubland, if so we talk about Canberra this year. They'll either celebrate their season together for a number of days, and then Ricky will have the reviews. They'll all be together, for a number, and then they get back on and they'll navigate that process together, for a number of days, for as long as it takes. Laurie Daly won't get that.
There's a little bit
or Slater won't get that either.
Exactly, no. There's a little bit of pressure on Nathan Cleary as well for this game. Probably unfair level of pressure, but the talk with his legacy, like, if he wants to be the greatest halfback of all time, he might already be that. He's won 4 premierships. He's been in 5 grand finals. They're a chance again of winning another one this year, and he could end up winning 10 premierships when his career's over. You don't know. He's still very early in his career. Does he have to dominate Origin to be considered the greatest halfback of all time?
Look, for me, this conversation comes up, and it's just pub chat. There's no official medal or award for the greatest ever halfback. It will just be debated. Some people would have Ricky Stewart. We forget how good he was. Some people would go Peter Sterling. Some people would say John. Some people would say Cleary.
Most people say Andrew Johns.
Yeah, most people do. Yeah. And there's a bit of maybe a more of a recency bias. With him, as opposed to people like Sterling and Stewart.
But if Nate, so this is the question: if Nathan Cleary does dominate Origin, then can anyone argue that he is the greatest halfback of all time? Well, he's performed in iconic moments.
Yes.
The 2023 grand final was arguably the best performance by a player ever in an NRL game.
Well, not just that, Charlie. So you're right. Him and his Panthers side have redefined what it means to be great. Because it completely has dwarfed what the Roosters did in 2018 and 2019. It's dwarfed it.
Yeah.
That would be celebrated at Sydney Roosters. We went back to back at a time where people didn't go back to back.
Correct.
Penrith now have redefined, like, that Roosters side will probably, when you're having those pub chats, like we're talking about Cleary, people, that's the the best side of the NRL era, and they backed it up. They went back to back. And you know what? We've spoken to a number of players that felt like their great sides underachieved or didn't get what they should show for it. South Sydney, for example, they won it in 14. I know they still harbour regrets for not winning it in 13 as well.
Yeah.
Right? The West's Tigers 05, they would harbour feelings around they didn't get another one in 06. Some of the Bulldogs teams that Braith and Willie played in, they feel they should have got more than the one in 04.
Yeah.
Jamie Soward, he spoke about how that Dragons team should have got more than the one that they got in 2010. So there's a lot of teams, we should have. The Roosters did. They would have been spoken about as the greatest side in the NRL era. Penrith had trumped that.
Yeah.
That is not. This is now debate over.
Yeah.
He's redefined what it means to be great. So, you know, in another 10 years, when a team gets hot and they maybe win one and maybe they go back to back again, you're halfway there.
Yeah, you're halfway there. Yeah.
You're halfway there what it means to be great.
Yeah.
So for me, look, I'm probably slightly biased because I don't know if Origin should come into the debate as much, but I understand why and how it does. But in terms of Clubland, Cleary's not done yet, and he's redefined what it means to be great.
And what he's doing has never been done. This is the first time it's happened in my lifetime. It might never happen in my lifetime again. In this modern game where the game is so professional and every club is run to such a high standard, like this probably will never happen again.
And
5 grand finals, 4 premiership wins, it's insane.
People will look at the Eels and obviously the St. George side.
Dragons, 11 in a row.
And people go, well, James redefined what it means to be great. That Dragons, they've not caught up to that Dragons thing, but this is different.
Yeah, all those guys were part-time football players. They all had jobs. This is a professional era.
This is different.
It's so different.
Yeah, it is. It is. And again, that what the Dragons did likely won't be repeated again. And I understand that, but the rules of engagement were considerably different.
Yeah.
And if you look at what Penrith had to go through in terms of the having the eyes picked out of their best talent.
Exactly. They've lost. If you look at that grand final team every year, lost a couple of starting players every single year.
Yeah.
It's insane.
Incredible.
But that's why he has a genuine claim to be the greatest halfback of all time because of what he's done. So if he dominates Origin, there's nothing anyone can ever say.
Yeah, that will be it. Debate over.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed he does. If you want to hear more Origin preview, go have a listen to you and Gordy. It was a great episode. On to Clubland then. We were at the West Tigers game against the Roosters. Even when they were up with 10 seconds to go and the Roosters had one player, I didn't feel confident for them. They nearly blew it, but they get the win. It's a huge win for them.
Yeah, all they needed was the 2 points. They made hard work of it at times when they were 20-0 up. And I know this season no team's ever comfortable, but at 20-0 up, I thought they were by far and away the better team. Or a team like the Roosters are going to come back into the contest. Geez, they were missing some players, those Sydney Roosters. As the Tigers are missing a few as well. But the Tigers just found a way to win. I thought Adam Dewey was exceptional.
Yeah.
I thought he played some really good football.
May was relentless.
Him and Fanua as well. They set a strong platform, got them out to that 20-0 lead. I thought Stafford Toa played quite well.
He's a gun, Stafford Toa. He's a really good player.
And it just dials down the noise for a little bit. And I think now this win, look, people talking about the Tigers season, about, they've got a roster to make the 8. Look at their spine. Probably wasn't on that same chain of thought, but I understand why some people were, and that would have been their aspirations. Before yesterday's win, I think they would be genuinely stressing about another wooden spoon. I think that win,
they're safe.
it almost makes them safe. They've got 2 games against the Titans. They play the Warriors this week, and then the Titans at home. But it just takes the pressure off them to avoid like they don't. They're not desperate for that win. That if they'd have lost yesterday, New Zealand, and then to face the Titans, it would have been a very anxious game.
Yeah,
for a lot of reasons.
And to be fair, mate, they don't deserve the spoon.
No, they don't. You know, when we talk about performance, I think we've seen improvement in the Tigers. Probably not enough, but they will need to keep on improving, both on and off the field.
Yeah, they've just got those scars from the last few years where they've lost so many close games. They kept it tight with the Raiders. They kept it tight with the Panthers. They've showed huge signs of improvement, but it's just you can tell. Even yesterday, you can tell they just don't know how to win.
Yeah,
and they nearly blew
they get
it
on
again.
edge, mate. And you know they're not the first team that I guess suffer from that. But they were suffering a bit.
Yeah, you've been talking a lot lately about Luai's clauses and how he should give them up. Why would he give them up though? In all honesty, if you're Jerome Luai, why would you give up the clauses? It's just leverage for him.
Because you're playing for a club.
Yeah.
And it shows to everybody that you're all in.
Yeah, but it's a club that hasn't got the best track history. And he doesn't know. He loves Benji. Yeah. He wants to make sure Benji's safe. That's leverage that he can have over that as well.
I understand that players will ask the question, or player managers will ask the question about putting clauses in, because it gives them more leverage, and in negotiations that's exactly what you want. And sometimes you know if Jerome Luai coming into the prime of his career, highly motivated, he's a born winner, he's done that at Panthers and he wants to win again, so he's put the clause in.
Yeah,
but for me, it's from some of the what I feel are incorrect decisions or management issues this season. I think the biggest boost, or certainly the most important item on Tigers power brokers, whether that's Marshall or Richardson, they've got to get him signed up. They need him at that football club. I know they won without him yesterday, but they need him there, because I guess this development idea seems to have been parked for now. And look at the Bulldogs. They've developed some players and they've recruited really well. The big recruitment was Jerome Luai. They struggled in that department in the past in bringing in the top players in key positions. I think Jerome Luai, 6 or 7, he'd be in the top 3, 5, 8 in the comp undoubtedly, and maybe in the 7s, maybe top 5 potentially. And I think his best football is still in front of him in a Tigers jersey. I think he's played better at Penrith, but I think his best football is to come at the Tigers as they become more settled. You would hope that, and as they win more, if they can turn that corner and win a few more games, Jerome is certainly going to help in that department.
Yeah.
But you just think of the negativity around the club and what would be spoken about if they are unable to keep Luai. Like, what would that say?
Yeah, it would be disastrous. But then that's why I personally think there is 0% chance that while Jerome Luai is there, they sack Benji Marshall.
You think that if they...
I think even if they fell off the cliff and got the spoon this year, Benji, Appy, and Luai are extremely tight. That's the core group. So why would they ever get rid of Benji when they know that their 2 most valuable players, Appy and Luai, love him? Because especially when Appy hasn't re-signed officially yet and Luai's got the clauses, Shane Richardson has no choice. Even if he wanted to sack Benji, he can't because of how close those guys are and because of Luai's clauses. So I reckon the idea that Luai will get rid of his clauses is there's no way he does that.
No, he's not. He's not going to. But they need an answer soon.
Would you even upgrade him to get rid of those clauses? Because he's already on 1.2 million. Would you give him an extra 200 grand a year to get rid of those clauses?
Well, we've seen that happen with Mitchell Moses, haven't we?
Yeah.
He was
upgraded.
extended.
They got rid of clauses. Yeah.
What I'd want to know is obviously this clause exists or clauses exist in Jerome's deal, but what's the window? So we know he's got an ability to enact a clause or trigger a clause, but that clause would have a deadline.
Yep.
But I don't think it's been publicised what the deadline is. So I think Jerome Buller has
well, maybe it's November 1.
No, he's available in November 1.
Yeah, for 2027. But maybe that's when he's got to enact
it would the clause would have an expiry date on it.
Yeah.
So and that might be June.
Yeah.
June 30, for example.
Yeah.
For in 2026. What we really should know is so the countdown clock can be on is when does that clause expire where it becomes he is automatically by default a Tigers player in 2027.
Yeah.
Like when is that date? I think that's starting to get more important to get out in the public domain. So Tigers fans, people that take an interest in this story can start to see what the likely outcome is going to be.
I reckon it's good that they won on yesterday as well. I think that's good because, as we said before, like they don't deserve the spoon. They don't. The other team that is struggling though is the Bunnies, and they've now lost 6 straight, which is they looked terrible against Manly.
Yeah, it was a struggle. That was one of their poorer performances of the year. I think where they sit on the ladder. Look, I think NRL Physio put out a chart of teams that have missed players have missed the most number of rounds, and they are first by some considerable distance. Like I think up to like 20 or 30 more rounds of football have been missed through injury by Bunnies players more than any other side in the competition. So look, they'll never be an excuse. But again, you look at some performances. The one yesterday, probably not up to where South should be at, but they've had somewhere, like the one against Melbourne, for example. Like that's
Latrell Mitchell was like a big stick away from.
That's a
pulling off
performance that you can be
goals.
proud of. That's a performance of a team challenging to play finals, not a team that are up near the bottom end of the table.
No, they're probably out of the finals race though now.
Yeah, I think they join a few clubs that are out of the race for finals. Realistically, I mean, a team could get hot and no one's mathematically out of the equation. But it is looking increasingly more difficult for a Dragons, Knights, Tigers, Eels, Souths. I think Titans are gone. Cowboys, I mean, you could see them getting hot and winning 5 in a row, and then they're in the mixer, but they've got to get moving quickly.
Well, I heard you say this on Triple M that you haven't put a line through the Cowboys, and then I went and had a look at their draw. So they play the Dogs obviously this weekend. And the Dogs are massive favourites on Ladbrokes. Like I thought that is a bit closer than the odds suggest. But then
it's in Townsville as well.
It's in Townsville, correct. Then the rest of their round, they travel to the Dolphins the week after. So that's a chance for them to catch up on points to the Dolphins. So it's a big game for them. And you could back them against the Dolphins. Then they go home to the Dragons, away to the Sharks. So it's another 4-point game basically. Then away to Para, home to the Knights, away to the Tigers. And then they have the bye in round 27. So the last game is round 26 at home to the Broncos. So they've got opportunities to take points of a couple of the teams fighting, but it's not the hardest run home.
No. You're right there, Charlie. So I think the Cowboys, they've got to get hot and get hot quickly. The reason I highlight them, they've got that 1 point from the draw, which could be advantageous as well.
Yep.
But from all those teams, I think they've got the best attacking side. And defense has always been optional. All those teams near the bottom, they've got defensive issues, but the most exciting of those teams with the ball, which I think will make the biggest difference. I can't see the Cowboys winning the comp, but I could see them getting hot and playing finals.
Yeah.
But it's going to require They got to get moving quickly.
Yeah. Our instant classic this week, Jimmy. All thanks
Yes.
to Classic. If you're in the market for footy kit, not just for the professionals, Classic.
No.
Obviously, they do the great kits you see. They do the bunnies kit, looks fantastic. We've got some stuff coming with them soon. It's going to be very interesting.
Yes, can't wait for that. We know what's coming.
Yeah.
But we're excited for our listeners.
Yeah.
Like it. This is, and we're very proud of what is happening as well.
It looks great.
But you're right. They're not just for the pros. If you're a local sporting team, Classic can take care of all you need. So it's in the show notes, isn't it? Click on.
There's a VIP. They got the VIP offers. If you click the link through our show notes, they give you heaps of different offers. It's actually like, it's awesome what they offer there. But the instant classic is the Bulldogs against the Broncos, Jimmy. The Bulldogs 18-0 up, and then it all went horribly wrong.
Yes, it did. I thought, look, I'm going to level with you. I know this season has been a season of upsets and comebacks. I thought it was done.
Yeah. They were showing no sign of life at all.
No, it was good as over as I've ever seen. But credit to the Broncos. They stayed in the fight. Ezra Mam, I thought, was fantastic. He had fans again deciding to boo him, but his football did the talking.
Yeah.
And disappointing loss for the Dogs. Those ones really hurt, and you could see what it meant when, we talk about like the Tigers and their win, what it does for them. The Broncos were celebrating like they just won because the comeback wins. They build bonds, like very strong bonds are made and connections are made through those tight wins. Geez, Willison, he was enormous. He is some player. And I guess that you look at it, did Broncos win or did Bulldogs lose? A combination of both. The Broncos now in the hot seat to take over from a potential slip up from the Warriors, and just naturally conversation will shift to the Dogs' processes. And poor old Lachlan Galvin, I've never seen a player that's come in and taken over the 9 and the 7 and made them leave a football club in the past. And I think some of the commentary is conveniently unfair.
They have done a lot, though, to accommodate Lachlan Galvin. I mean, moving Burton into the centres, like, I don't understand why they did that.
Yeah, it was a funny backline reshuffle, and obviously Willison to 18th man, Tawala come in. I think it probably made them stronger on paper, seeing Burton in the centres for that particular game. And Galvin coming in, he's come to help the Dogs attack. Because it was, I guess, and I think even the most avid Dogs fan would say, defensively up there with the best in the competition, but their attack is lacking a bit. So when even most observers of the game, and you could say this about any club, you'd say about like the Canberra, the stuff, like what ideally would this really good football side like to make them better? So I'm looking at the Dogs, and I'd probably go one really strong middle forward that's going to dominate an alpha style. They've got that in Leo Thompson. And a elite top 3 position player in one of the spine. Yeah,
there's no proof yet that Lachlan Galvin's a top 3.
Exactly. No, he's not. He's not yet. But he has the potential to get there. I think that's why even when they made inquiries about Ryan Pappenhaus, and people were, well, it's not fair on Connor Tracy. He's done a fantastic job, and he continues to do so. But like any sporting team, they're always looking to make improvements, and people will look and like, if you're looking at the Raiders, I'm sure they'd like an elite spine player as much as Ricky Stewart would be stoked with Weeks, stoked with Starling and Owen Patty, and the combination of Ethan Strange.
Top 358.
He's getting into that. Yeah. He's getting into that.
But mate, the reality is though, they've done this middle of the season. Dogs were sitting top. They were sitting first, and now
I think it was probably they were top, but I think it was I don't think they were the best team in the comp.
No, maybe not, but they were showing really good signs. They came back from. Remember that comeback win against Canberra? Like they did.
Yeah.
They showed some amazing signs. They were in the premiership race. The team that we've seen the last few weeks doesn't look like a team that can win the comp.
Yeah, I mean, based off recent. Well, hang on, I disagree with that. Did you were there at that game against Penrith, right?
I know you keep saying they would have won 5-5. I disagree. I don't think they would have won 5-5. I think it would have been maybe 7-3 to Penrith. I do think the Dogs could have won those games, but I don't think it was 5-5. Or if you play that game again.
Just remind me how Penrith scored.
Charge down kick, Nathan Cleary. Yeah. And you know how that play got set up? Nathan Cleary, dummy, got past Lachlan Galvin, and then the momentum turned, and then they got the charge down kick shortly after that.
That's exactly how that.
So that was the momentum play. That was the momentum turning play.
Of course.
Yeah, you can't say it hasn't. Like the group, you can even see it. And Reid Marnie's saying all the right things publicly, but I heard him on Triple M, and I think he was just saying what he knew he had to say.
Yeah, of course he'd be disappointed
clearly
he's
they're
leaving.
affected. Yeah,
of course he's disappointed he's leaving.
Yeah, clearly Sexton would be disappointed as well. He's leaving.
Of course, you know the answer to that. Play better.
They were, mate. They were sitting top when they brought the guy in.
Right. If Lachlan Galvin doesn't leave the West Tigers, does Reid Marnie leave the Bulldogs?
He probably does as quick,
okay.
But does he do it as quickly? I don't know. I don't know if he's leaving next year.
Okay.
Like there was rumours at the start of the year before a ball was kicked that Bailey Hayward was being earmarked to be hooker.
So
before Lachlan Galvin.
In my opinion, if Lachlan Galvin doesn't leave the Tigers and he stays there for this season and maybe for next, and maybe even gets an extension there, who knows? Who cares? I think Reid Marnie leaves the Dogs at the end of this season.
Okay. Just so
there's no one to
Toby Sexton.
Toby Sexton maybe gets a 12-month extension.
I think he would definitely get an extension of 12 months, 2 years for sure. If they
okay.
didn't have another option to replace him with, who else is out there on the market? There's no one.
Not really, no.
Yeah.
So, but would it be fair to say that the Dogs were in the market for a halfback?
In their opinion, they were in the market.
Yeah.
Was that the correct decision to be in the market?
Well, that is a good point that you make. Should
if I was running
a
a football club and I'm sitting top of the table and I've got this spine, they're not the sexiest names on paper. I'm probably not thinking I need to shake my spine up if we're sitting top.
Yeah. I understand how you can just let's just leave this alone. It's working, but I think, like I say, anybody that's in charge of football clubs, they want to keep improving. Sporting clubs, they want to keep improving. Like, look at Liverpool Football Club, for example. Like, they won the league last year. They've gone and signed 3 players. I know they've lost a couple. They've gone and signed 3 players.
Yeah.
It's what teams do. They look to improve their situation. They want to get better. Was it 2021? The Panthers, they bring in Tavita Pangai Jr. Melbourne Storm, they bring in David Nofaluma.
Yeah, again, teams are not key position players.
Yeah, you're right, not key position players, but to make them better.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. And with Sexton, and again, I say this with the utmost of respect, he has been available since November the 1st.
Yeah.
And not one of the other 16 NRL clubs offered him a contract. But he was...
That's not because he's not good enough. That's because not many clubs need halves, though, as well.
Okay, but Charlie, he's, in your words, he's leading this team to first on the ladder.
Yeah.
What more could you want from your halfback? So maybe it's all those other dumbass 16 NRL clubs that can't see this as well.
Maybe, yeah, maybe.
Let's have a crack at the Dogs, and let's have a crack at every NRL club going, are you all idiots?
Do you not think it's strange that I know you signed with the Catalans Dragons, but the St. George Illawarra Dragons didn't try and get Toby Sexton? You're not surprised by that?
Well, they made a call to go. They've made a call to go.
Stay with Carl Flanagan. Do you reckon Toby Sexton's a better player than Carl Flanagan?
What the Dragons did, they're in the market for a halfback, and they could have lodged an offer to Toby Sexton, but they went with Daniel Atkinson instead.
Yeah. He's their 5'8", though. He's going to play 5'8". He's playing 5'8" New South Wales Cup at the moment, Daniel Atkinson as well. He's not who I don't think they've seen him as a 7.
Okay.
as a long-term 7 because they're still in the market now. They're looking at Luke Metcalf as well, who comes available November 1.
Yeah, okay, maybe
They're
we'll
looking
play
at other
5.
players.
Yeah.
So I think Sexton's been a bit hard done by. They didn't have more interest here.
And you know what? What I've said about Toby Sexton, his best football has been played since Lachlan Galvin came to the football club.
Yeah.
In my opinion. And mate, the journey that Sexton's been on, like he was behind Drew Hutchinson for most of last year.
Yeah. And he was at the Titans. He was not given a fair run as well at the Titans. I think he came onto the scene, burst onto the scene, was brilliant in his first few games, and then got left out of the team for a while.
And he'll be a fantastic signing for the Catalans Dragons. It wouldn't surprise me to see him come back and light up the NRL in maybe 4 years' time, where a club looks and goes, "We were stupid not to bring him in."
Yeah.
Obviously, there's a fair few aging halfbacks. You Adam Reynolds, your Daly Cherry Evanses of the like. But I think for the Dogs, like I say, if I'm looking at the situation, I'm going, what does this team need to get better? And also, let's not forget, we're quick to change. And hey, I do this as a sports fan as well, is like the moment now where people go, oh, they could win this year. This year is a bonus. Serraldo comes in. They finished 15th in 23. There was a tough first year. Last year, 24, it was remarkable that they made the finals.
Yeah.
And then I think most people thought this year we'll see a little bit of improvement. But what are they missing? Leo Thompson, a genuine spine player, game breaker, X Factor style of player, and they've gone and got that. I think me as a Bulldogs fan, this year is a bonus. Can they win it this year? Absolutely, they're in the mixer.
Well,
it's come way before we expected.
What should they do then in terms of with Lachlan Galvin then for the rest of the year? Because is he coming off the bench? Is he? And you can say, when he comes off the bench, they move Toby Sexton to 9 and they put Reed Marnie to the bench. That's what they've done both times they brought him off the bench. Is that the strategy, or do you just have Lachlan Galvin play at 7 and bite that bullet?
Look, Charlie, as a former NRL player and an observer of our game, I've never really liked halfbacks being on the bench and coming on and people moving. That is something that I've always felt teams struggle to adapt. And that question of when this person gets on, it's kind of like the 14 role sometimes in State of Origin. So you've got a Connor Watson there at 14. He has utility value, probably more backup hooker, but Robson can knock out the 80. Like
playing lock,
and with the forwards that can play long minutes, there's a world where Connor Watson doesn't get on, right? And even some teams, the makeup of their bench, they don't go with utility. They go 4 forwards, and maybe one of those forwards gets 10 to 15 minutes. But with a halfback on the bench, it always worries me. Like, you're either going to throw them on to spark attack, come from behind, but probably the worst thing to do is get them on when they're winning. Like, how if you're winning a game, like how do you inject another halfback into the game?
Yeah.
And
they were beating Penrith, and Reed Marnie was playing some of his best footy he played all year in that game, and then they made that change, and things turned in Penrith's favour.
Look, again, we've examined that game, and it was a war, and it was brilliant to watch.
They turned that. That play, mate. As much as you like that play where Nathan Cleary dummies and gets through the line, that is the momentum turner that leads to then the Nathan Cleary charge down, which was the try that led to the Penrith win. That is all connected.
Yeah. Okay. I'll accept that. Yeah. Right.
Right, now
what do the Dogs do with Galvin? I think they've just got to get him in at 7.
Yeah, okay. And then Sexton.
And as harsh as that is on Sexton, and he is the fall guy, and I think they've got to get him in at 7. They bought him in to play first grade. Like this talk of putting him in reserves, no way. They've brought him in to be the number 7. Look at the team. That's where he's. Where's he going to play next year?
Yeah, he's 7.
Put him at 7.
Yeah.
And it is harsh on Toby. It is, and I'd feel for him, but for me, it's walking on eggshells, putting him on the bench, and I think that they'd be better suited long term to get him in at 7.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. The teams come out later today, so we'll see. We'll see if he's there this weekend. It's been great to see you, James. We should have spoken about that at the top. That was our best chat.
Yeah.
Saved it for last.
Yeah.
But no, well done, mate.
Yeah.
You've been on fire as always.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what other games happened on the weekend. Great to see the NRLW back.
Yeah, NRLW cracking. You know what? This is what I want. This is what they should do in future, though. Free entry for round 1 for the NRLW. Even do it, collab with a charity, make it a gold coin donation. Just let people in, get those venues filled. Like we did the game Thursday, worked on that game, and it was pretty much an empty crowd. You got to fill it up. It just adds so much to the atmosphere, makes it looks amazing on television. And you know what revenue you're missing out the tiny bit of revenue you get from the ticket sales. Like just get the doors open, get an atmosphere going, do it with collab with a charity. They got to do because you need those. And I know those ones that are before the men's game. Yeah, you'd probably lose a fair bit of revenue on those ones, but it would be so good. And we were there on Sunday yesterday where the Roosters were taking on the Warriors. How good would that have been if it was a packed crowd? It was great that the men's game had a packed crowd, but you could have easily made it free entry and filled that whole stadium.
Yeah, I think that I've listened to a few strong voices in the space, and I think the need for an independent NRLW CEO is making a lot of sense because there are a number of, I guess, what people may call like just little oversights, or you just do it because that's what the men do. So even, and you don't need to. Like just because the NRL men's comp is going gangbusters, you've got a great opportunity to not go through some of the same mistakes or tweak things up a little bit. And some of these issues that are arising in the women's game, they don't arise in the men's game, and they've got a unique opportunity to be better than the NRL. So, we were speaking with Jasmine Strange, and for that game where the Sharks played Parramatta, the look on TV, it looked like it was empty, but all the
They're on the side where the heaters are.
The attendance, all the crowd were in the
non-TV side.
The side where the camera are.
Yes.
So they would never shown.
Yeah.
But if that camera was coming from the other way, or if they'd have been sat over the other side of the stadium, it would have looked so much better.
100%. And my participation has never been higher in junior NRL for females. So even that's maybe a missed opportunity. Do you go to all those clubs and give free tickets to all the girls that are playing? Get people in the venues.
Yeah.
People love free stuff.
Absolutely.
They love free stuff. It was school holidays, I think, for some schools as well, I think, by that point. I haven't got kids, so I'm not across the school holidays. But,
you're right.
And then there's so many great brands that are such supportive of the women's games, well, like Westpac.
Yeah.
Putting so much money, and they match dollar for dollar what they spend in the men's game, they spend in the women's game. So they've got all these things ticking in their favour, and the quality's so good. They just got to get it. You got to get creative with season launches and put something into season launches. Get players on every shows. Do all that stuff.
Yeah.
Go hard on the promotion.
I think they need somebody that it's their sole job to be the CEO of that competition.
Yeah.
Andrew Abdo, Peter Volandis, the commission now, they are up to their eyeballs with to-do lists, areas to improve. They've got an international game. They've got TV rights deals that are media broadcast deals.
Abdo works 16 to 18 hours a day probably already.
The side that the female spectators sit on is probably just not popping up, unfortunately, because his plate is so full. You pay someone to do that job. I think it's got to the point now where that is a necessity for the female game.
Especially with the talk that they're going to go and have every NRLW club, every NRL club have an NRLW club as well. So expansion is going to get bigger and bigger.
Yeah.
So
And more issues arise
100%.
that need somebody's full attention.
Yeah. Well, one of the issues that is going to arise is because they're part-time athletes at the moment, there's talk of them becoming full-time athletes, but it's going to affect some of those players who do like the media and do other stuff as well, because they make more money doing that stuff outside of footy.
Yeah.
So the other issue you could have when it goes full-time is some of those like bigger names who have bigger brands outside of the game might not want to go full-time.
Well, you know what? It actually happened in England when the game went professional. There was a number of players, and they were a bit older, coming towards the back end of their career, where they just said, no. Like,
we've got another job.
I've got another job.
Yeah.
I'll go, a year or two as a full-time pro, or give up my teaching job, or my carpentry job, whatever it may be. They're like, nah, sod that. Thanks, but no thanks. I'll just go I'll drop down. And because rugby league was almost a bit of a side hustle.
Yeah.
As like they cared, but it was
You might go, £500 playing that, something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. Like it was just a bit of it was holiday money.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they viewed it. I've got my job, my 9 to 5. And then, I'll throw a jersey on, train 2 nights a week, play on a weekend, happy
good.
days. Yeah.
A few beers with the lads after, away we go.
Yeah. Oh, no, we're going full time. No way.
Yeah.
And again, these are some of the things that they've got to look at. I know even, some other issues that are arising around injury rates and what needs to be done to stop that. I know there's a lot in the NRL as well.
Yeah, because ACLs is a lot bigger issue in the female game. More susceptible to an ACL injury when you're on your period as well. Which is, I didn't know that. There's a lot of different factors they've got to take in there. Then the other thing you have with the NRLW is the mat leave and all that sort of stuff, and how contracts work. That because if you get pregnant, the way the RLPA set it up, which is they've done such a good job with the CBA for the women, is obviously you get paid while your contract is valid, even if so Millie's out this year, still contracted, still getting paid. But then the Roosters can use that money on their cap anyway.
Yeah, and well, even I guess this is not necessarily a sports governing body issue, but with like peak performance and sports science, most of the studies and research is done or has been done on males, and you could argue, well, that was all that was needed, especially in at team sports, like obviously individual athletes that they've athletics, swimming and whatnot have had a foothold in the female space for quite some time, but for research and development and sports science purposes, there's probably less resources available for that. Maybe that's a government issue or a university issue, but that's something, again, that if you had an NRLW CEO, they could be opening up those doors and having those conversations with the research groups to say, okay, well, we've got this issue that's coming up in our game. It's disproportionate. What can we do about it? And it may be, it could be, I'm not saying it would be, but it could be a relatively simple fix.
Yeah. Yeah. Great games as well. The quality of the footy was great. You had upsets. Dogs, first game ever. They got the win over the Knights. It was awesome. The Eels upset the Sharks as well. So it was a great first round of footy. In America, so the WNBA has exploded off the back of Caitlin Clark, who's this absolute gun shooter. But something that adds to it is obviously it's a different sport, and they do things like they walk into the arena and they celebrate. They're all celebrities, and it's a bit different than how the NRL is. But they created rivalries. So everyone in the league hates Caitlin Clark. So every one of those matches is filled with such intensity and rivalry, and the girls are all friends. So I don't know how you create that in the NRLW. They're all so close, and they've often played for different clubs and played together. But if we could create some of those rivalries, genuine hatred between clubs, that, I think is something they need to try and do, even if the players themselves lean into it.
Yeah, Charlie, I use the phrase a lot about the power of hate and how hate sells.
Yeah,
and yeah, I don't know much about my American sports in general. The WNBA, I do know about Caitlin Clark though.
Yeah,
Like she's the one. I don't know any really many. I could probably name 5 NBA players. I can name one WNBA player, and it's Caitlin Clark.
Yeah,
because
because it's a global. Like what they've done is global, and the ratings are off its head. You got like Dave Portnoy from Barstool Sports. He's going courtside filming stuff. He's betting $100,000 on her to get a triple double. Like it's part of their like pop culture.
Yeah,
they got to try and get the women's game here because as far as sports go in Australia, obviously the Matildas are probably in a different league, but the NRL is ahead of the AFL, and and I reckon the NRL is ahead of cricket as well. So I reckon the NRL has the opportunity to really make some noise.
Yeah, and I know we've got some of those athletes from other codes, but we're in competition with them.
Yeah,
we are. I know we're in the clubs compete against each other, but we're competing as a sport to be the number one in the female sports space. I think the Matildas have that title, and that's hard to see them ever giving up on that. But that's a once in a 4-year cycle.
Yeah, correct.
Where they will get, and that recent tournament was in Australia.
Yeah, correct.
And home tournaments do attract more eyeballs from the local audience. Like, I guess we'll see in the future when the World Cup's held in Europe if people are going to stay up till all hours. They probably will, but you're not going to get as many numbers, and the Matildas probably won't be as popular due to unfortunate time differences. But NRLW are in a great spot, but it's probably not at capacity in terms of where it could be just yet.
Definitely.
All right, Charlie. Well, it's been great to sit and chat with you. Thanks for listening, everybody. Big shout out again to Metrason Upholstery and Ryan, who did that chair for me. I'll get the pictures on our Instagram, and you can if you want to get involved in something similar, get involved.
I am starting to now doubt if you did pay for it with the second plug. The second plug sort of shows signs that maybe, I don't know, or maybe you got a really good deal or something, like you did with the Hyundai.
Oh God! All right, thanks for listening, everyone. Catch you soon.